This is your City Council Roundup, a recap of what's happening at City Hall with John Ongaro. The views expressed in this program are solely of those of the host and not necessarily those of the radio station or its partners.
All right, it's a strange day for a City Council Roundup, although an abbreviated one. Nothing fancy here, more of a discussion for Danny and I, because there was a couple of interesting things that happened on Tuesday night in the standing committee meetings, and we wanted to talk about it. One of them is really getting Danny's snake. The whole discussion on snakes and the bylaw of which snakes you're allowed to have and which ones you're not. Danny? You don't like this whole thing.
Well, someone came forward about making ball pythons exempt from this animal keeping bylaw.
There is a bylaw on the kinds of animals that you can keep legally, and that came up, and there was a deputation about why we should be allowed to have ball pythons as snakes. Now, I don't have a ball python, obviously. I don't have
Who
any.
has one?
Well, some people, apparently.
My question is, when we discussed this yesterday, we had a few texts on our T-Bay Tel Talk and text line, people saying, it's just a snake. No. When the word python is part of a discussion and the word is there, I don't know. That maybe frightens me a bit. These ball pythons, can I just share with you?
Please, you're the expert.
Is a python species native to West and Central Africa, where it lives in grasslands, shrublands, and open forests.
Right.
Hang tight.
Right.
This non-venomous constrictor.
Constrictor, that means it'll come around your neck.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the smallest of the African pythons, but grows to a maximum length, I was wrong, of 5 feet? No, 6 feet.
Oh, about my height.
Yes.
Oh, that's not bad.
Here's the best part. The name ball python refers to its tendency to curl into a ball when stressed or frightened.
Right.
So, listen, I'm all for wanting to have, listen, you want a guppy in your aquarium? An algae eater? What are those called? Picostomized?
Yeah.
Something like that? But when one wants, what's it called?
You referred to it as an aquarium, but it's a terrarium.
A terrarium.
Yes, that's
and
right.
You want a ball python that can grow to a length of 6 feet. All I respectfully ask is, why?
Why?
That's all.
Right. Well, some people, people can say that about having a basset hound. Sure. Why do you have a basset hound? Sure. To each his own. Yeah. This became quite a discussion, but the highlight of the whole ball python discussion was the mayor who piped up and said, "Listen, I'm going to do my research and I'm going to find out how I can use my strong mayor powers to make sure this bylaw doesn't pass." That takes it to the next level. Considering all of the other things that he could have used his strong mayor power for up to now, temporary village, budgets, all those other things. No, he's stepping up to the plate on the python. That's where he draws the line.
Here's my question to you. Do you think with the mayor already possibly suggesting he might use it, already kills this request already?
I think he just thought of it on Tuesday night, and now he's got a team figuring it out.
Oh, all right.
So the python comes back to City Council. I'm not sure if that's on Tuesday, but that is something else. All right. Last night, or also Tuesday night, there was a very long discussion, and this prompted a lot of texts yesterday. So just an open conversation on the art gallery, which is, of course, right out our window. We've been watching it be built. It's been built slowly, albeit. They are several tens of millions of dollars over budget, and that's because, the costs of things have gone up dramatically. We all know this. The art gallery came to the city with a request for $2.5 million. The $2.5 million, by the way, is on top of the $5 million that they were in front of council asking for it to be released early because they need it and because they needed to raise another $25 million or so. Well, they've come back to the city and asked for $2.5 million more, and that is to get to an opening. The other part of that is, though, if we collect $2.5 million from the city, it's going to make it easier for us to go to other forms of government and other outside donors to raise more money. If they show that the city is supporting this, then they will be able to get more money. Let's keep in mind that the building now is at $70 or $75 million in cost. That means that the city's investment would be $7.5 million. So the request came forward with $2.5 million. That led to a debate. Now, here's the thing that I found fascinating. Now that we're in these standing committees, and there are only 5 counselors in a standing committee, that means they only get 5 minutes each to talk, of which the little buzzer went off a couple of times saying zip it. But they only get 5 minutes to talk in multiple rounds, but they get 5 minutes to state their case. At the get-go of the discussions, you could already tell that there was a divide in the room. This is what's fascinating to me. This is what's really troubling about this group, is that even in a group of 5 and not 13, they still can't agree. And It ends up going to a point where it becomes an amendment from Councillor Mark Bentz, who says, why don't we just get $1.5 million from, or $1.25 million from the MAT tax? Let's just take the MAT tax money, give them 1.25, and then maybe 1.25 later after they open. Well, that led to the question of how much money is in the MAT tax for us to pull from, because the other money was going to come from the Renew Thunder Bay Fund.
Okay.
You love reserves. We have a ton of them. There's money all over the place. Well, when asked about the MAT tax and the 1.25 million from that tax, the response from administration was, well, that fund's a little low because we used all the money for the turf facility. So that begs the question now. Here we are in yet another polarizing discussion. Every time the art gallery makes the news, our text line blows up with, we shouldn't be, that's taxpayer. It's not our money. You have to understand that 90% of the money came from outside sources that weren't us. Then it becomes, well, yes, John, it's still our tax money. You're right. But let me remind you that your tax money in Ontario and in Canada is paying for a bridge in some other province too.
That's fair.
So don't go into that. That's your, it's your tax dollars, but your tax dollars are being wasted all over the country, not just here. So when it becomes this polarizing, I hate Thunder Bay discussion, and why are we spending money on this? I find it fascinating that the councillors, including one certain Councillor Aiello, who said on the news last night on television, the community doesn't have an appetite for this, but yet the community didn't have an appetite for a $50 million turf either, but you passed that. And there is a big difference between 50 million, and I know I'm going to get hate texts from the soccer community. It's not 50 million. Show me the bill when it's done and I'll correct it. It's going to be 50 million. So you are okay to sign $50 million away for a turf, but $2.5 million to support what's going to be a building, a legendary building on our waterfront for the art community is not worth it. And so now the question becomes to Councillor Aiello and all the others against this investment, are you saying that soccer is more important than the arts? I wouldn't go down that road. You had no problem with $50 million for a chunk of grass, but $2.5 million to make sure this beautiful, iconic building that celebrates art and the history of our region and our country, really a shining light in our community and on the waterfront, is not worth it. Well, everybody now is going to be completely polarized over this again, because now you're going to pit the soccer moms against the art moms and try to figure out which one's more important. The fact that they so easily turn this down on Tuesday night in the standing committee is frightening, because now that's going to get to council. Let's add 8 more people to the discussion and see what happens. But all of those councillors need to understand you were complaining about spending $5 million on a temporary village. You were complaining about spending $2.5 million, half of that to support an art gallery. But yet you signed a blank check for a chunk of fake grass that, 7,000 people are going to enjoy. It doesn't make any sense. And these are the optics that become the problem with what this council is all about. They are not on the same team.
One thing that I get a little troubled by, though, is as we look out every morning and see this beauty of a building, in fact, I see workers in the building right now.
You're working hard
with this art gallery. Is when projects of this size, of this magnitude, multi-millions of dollars get approved, why is there always a pause in the building of it? Because if I were to build a home, I would want to know that I have access to the money to build it.
Big difference, though. Big difference.
50 plus million is now 75 million, and now they're falling short.
But consider the size of this building and what's required in this building. It is highly complicated. You can't just throw art into a scrap building and flip on an air conditioner. It's more important than that. But then you're right, because then that becomes the discussion. Why are we spending so much money on the windows and the air conditioner? Well, because it's important stuff in there that we need to protect.
Yeah.
And, let's be honest, the city does not do a good job of taking care of nice things. The art gallery is in charge of taking care of very important things. Yeah. And so that becomes the discussion of why is it taking so well, because it's a big undertaking. It's a complicated building. It took a long time. To even get started, and prices are changing like crazy. So of course they're going to fall behind. But the biggest thing from Tuesday night that was beyond troubling is that we even entertained a conversation about, what are we going to do with this building when it fails? What? That was a conversation on Tuesday night.
That's not.
So what are we going to do with it? Are we going to turn it into apartments? What? It's not even built yet, and you're already waiting for it to fail. It was a bad look. The negativity around that discussion was a bad look. And Councillor Benz and Councillor Zazino, yes, I'm talking about the two of you because you were the two that were talking about its failure. You two were the ones that were, well, what are we going to do next? And is it our building? And what can we do with it? Wait a minute. Cart before the horse. But yet, Councillor Zazino, who was the biggest fan of the turf facility, has no problem with that. So when the turf facility runs out of money or people stop playing soccer, what are we going to turn that into? A pool? Why are we talking about those kinds of things? If the council thinks that it's rough now, stop being so negative. And the two of you that are pointing out that you don't have an appetite for this, it's a bad investment, it sets a terrible precedent, all of these things that they were saying on Tuesday night, you are representing all 13 councillors when you say stuff like that publicly, and you're giving everybody a bad look. And they wonder why people are so harsh on them, or one guy is so harsh on them. This is why. Because you're not on the same page as everybody else. And the last thing I want to hear from any of those councillors is there's not an appetite for it in this community. Well, you obviously didn't spend enough time online when everybody told you there wasn't an appetite for a $50 million turf. There was an appetite for a $17 million one, which is what you approved. But that turned into a $50 million. Oh, no, John, it's 36. Okay. Let me know when the parking lot and the roads and everything else are finished. Let me know what the final bill is. But the point is, they are saying two different things and talking out of both sides of their mouth when it comes to spending money on shiny things. They have their favorites, but they're polarizing the community in the meantime.
When it comes to the Thunder Bay Art Gallery, when it's all said and done, when everything is clear, word has it that it's expected to fully open completely in the summer of 2027.
Well, unless a couple of councillors have their way and it becomes apartments. It's just it's so ridiculous.
I
isn't
missed
it?
that. That's a bit.
Now, Tuesday night, don't forget, Tuesday night is the next city council meeting. I am not sure if these things are coming up at council or not. When it gets to the standing committee, I don't know if it's on the next council meeting. Regardless, Tuesday night is the notice of motion. Again, number 4 for the temporary village, and the notice of motion that's in front of council and in front of you, the public, until Tuesday, is we're talking about getting rid of the temporary village as part of the 10-point plan. If that's the case, it'll need a mover and a seconder on Tuesday night before the discussions start, and then a 2/3 or super majority, 9 votes for it to come off of that plan. There's no way that's happening. If it does, I'd be shocked. But the fact that we're going through this process again is equally as shocking.
All right. Well, that was a special edition of the City Council Roundup on a Thursday, and you'll be able to find this at yourthunderbay.ca and a recap.
If you're thinking about picking up a python, just hold the phone. You got to wait. You got to wait for the bylaw to get passed first.
I can't.
These are interesting times, my friend.
It certainly is.